So we've made it to the Koala Sanctuary, as you can see behind me, and for once the sun has actually come out, which is a miracle because it's been raining the whole way up here. So let's go inside, have a tour of the cabin, and then tomorrow we're off on a tour, so we'll see what that entails. So here's the view from our glamping tent. Looks straight up towards the skywalk, where all the koalas that are currently being cared for are. And just to the left of the frame now is the koala hospital. There's a viewing window, but you occasionally get to see bits. So let's have a look inside the room. As you can see in this room, very comfortable king-size bed. There are plenty of plug sockets, so plenty of charging options there. There is a TV, but to be honest, when you've got nature like that, why would you use it? Now for the obligatory bathroom tour. It's compact, but does everything that you need. It's fully stocked with all the amenities. You have a small kitchen unit, and they supply a lot of extras. There's plenty of supplies for breakfast, snacks, drinks. No expense spared on these, so you only need to bring minimal supplies with you.
And this was a caravan park previously, and Port Stephens Council and the koalas, the hospital wanted to come together to do something together. It's been in the works for over 5 years now. I think it had been in the works for 5 years when we first opened our doors last year. Yeah, to bring together and come together to look after this social issue that we have at the moment. So with the park, as I mentioned, we were a caravan park, so we closed down in 2019 to reopen last year as the Koala Sanctuary. Obviously it was meant to be in March last year, but you guys may have heard there's been a pandemic happening, and that got pushed back to September. So we were here on the 25th of September last year to open. It was a great time. Port Stephens has never been busier during September to August this year. Then unfortunately, yes, we also had to lock down, but we're reopened and we're so excited to have everyone back. And I just want to start also by thanking you all for coming to staying with us here at the Koala Sanctuary. Obviously you're supporting us here in Port Stephens, you're supporting the koalas, and this place being possible to be able to help the koalas is just everything. Also, it gives a lot of us jobs too, so we all know that we need those as well. But apart from all our employed staff here, the Koala Hospital, I like to point out too, has almost 200 volunteers that make this happen. So I myself and some of my other colleagues, we all volunteer down there as much as possible as we can while working full time. If you do have any cans and bottles while you're here, please feel free to come and pop them in the bin we have up in the cafe. I personally go and take them and put all the 10 centers into the machine, and the money all goes back to the koalas as well. So, back to koalas. Okay, so we've got Casey here. As you may have already gone through our sanctuary walk and learned a bit more about Casey, I'm not going to cover everything that's said in these signs, so if you haven't already, please feel free to walk along and read these signs and learn a little bit more about koalas. I have to warn you guys, I'm going to talk about poo this morning. I love talking about koala poo. It's a great topic and we can learn a lot from koala poo. So, sorry, and I should have probably warned you about that earlier. So I hope you don't have, soft stomachs. So we have, back to Casey for a second, we have him up here on what we call our lightning tree. This tree was actually hit by lightning before we closed the caravan park down to reopen. So just another thing that the poor koalas have to deal with. It's, things that we have to deal with as well. Storms, weather, we mentioned fire before. In Australia, we always say we have two things, fire or floods. They're the two guarantees it can have in Australia, and unfortunately they're not great for anyone. Well, for most people and animals. Cool. So we've got Casey here, he's dangling down, he looks like he's had a pretty rough time. So this is when we get koalas in care and what the different things we do to look after them. Casey is a good news story. He came into care, was looked after by the volunteers and the carers, and was able to be rehabilitated and take back out to the wild. That's what we want. That's what we want to see. So obviously we've got some retirees, I like to call them, the koalas here that are too sick or injured to go back to the wild, but they've got a very safe, very natural home to be able to live in and to continue to be looked after. Different ways we can tell that this koala is not okay. His hair might be falling out, he might have red eyes, a wet bottom, a dry nose. He's not fearful of something that's 10 times the size of him coming at him. That's when we can probably tell that he's not doing too well. Unfortunately, in Port Stephens, we do see a lot of koalas up on the roads as well, which isn't great, and unfortunately that's where a lot of our koalas get brought to us because they get hit in the roads. While you're driving around Port Stephens, you see these koala signs painted on the road. They're literally painted there because those roads are lined with koala feeding trees. So, those trees were already there. We've come and built a road in between. Of course, a koala's going to try to walk from one side to the other. Now, I know as Aussies, we like to joke that koalas are drunk and high. Honestly, they're just digesting their food. So they use all their energy to digest that food. We take about 8 hours as a human to digest our food. Koalas take 3 days. So the toxins that are in that eucalyptus leaf and the other leaves that they eat takes that much time for their bodies to be able to break down. And it starts all the way from the time that they're born as well. So it's quite an interesting journey.
So that was my trip to the Port Stephens Koala Sanctuary. Unfortunately, it wasn't able to get much vlogging done there due to being on all of my walking aids at the time. So hopefully in the next few videos you'll see a bit more of me, be that a good or a bad thing. I highly recommend this as a place to go. Remember, the money does go to the conservation of these animals and helps the local wildlife too. So it's a great place to visit, educational and fun for all the family. So we'll see you on the next video. Take care.